Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk. I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Whistle Talk. I'm being joined once again by my buddy Daniel Chamberlain, coming back from his vacation. Daniel, what's happening, bud?
Oh, just trying to get the house back in order and clean all the toys, and we still got motorcycle gear to clean. I thought the week before vacation was the most productive week ever, but this might be the most stuff done week ever. So,
well, yeah, now you need a vacation from your vacation. Is the way it always happens with
I've
kids.
Heard that before, and I've never really bought into it, but yeah.
So it definitely helps now to take a little R&R time. And once again, thank you for taking some time to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are recording. This is the night before the 4th of July. And when this comes out, it'll be just past the 4th of July weekend. So hopefully everybody had a nice, safe holiday weekend. Didn't blow up any fingers or anything like that, or silly stuff like that. Had a couple cocktails maybe, or two. Let's go. But before we get started tonight, I got a couple of quick things that I want to announce. Daniel, as you can see, I got on my Vets to Refs t-shirt here. I am excited to say and announce a partnership with Vets to Refs. And for those that don't know, Vets to Ref is a 501c3 nonprofit foundation. And what they're doing is they're helping U.S. military veterans and first responders become licensed youth and high school sports officials. So we're trying to get the word out there. They're doing a great job. They provide a renewed sense of purpose by covering the startup costs like licensing fees, equipment, offering training, supporting officials as they begin their journey. And through their mission, Vets to Refs not only supports the veterans and first responders, but it also helps address the nationwide shortage for youth and high school sports officials. So you can go to the vets2, the number 2, refs.com, VETS, number 2, refs.com for more information. Excuse me. They are an awesome, awesome group. They are tied in with a couple of other groups that are helping them get the scholarship basically type of scenario going, and working with ref reps, ref masters, different things like that. So definitely, if you get a chance, check them out. And now a shameless plug for myself. If you're enjoying the show, do me a favor, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button now. It's completely free. It makes a huge difference in helping more people find the show. While you're at it, leave a quick rating or review on your favorite podcast app. It only takes a minute, and I love hearing from you. And if you know somebody who'd enjoy the show, share this episode with them or post about it on social media. Every share helps this community grow. And I thank you all for being part of this community, and I'm looking forward to continuing to grow. Tonight, we're going to be diving into rule number 9. So we're going to be starting to talk about rule 9 tonight. Some fun stuff, some good, I don't know how to even say it. We're going to be talking about conduct. So there's never any type of misconduct when it comes to football, correct?
That's right. Never, ever.
Never, ever.
Ever.
But once again, before we start that, Daniel, time for your plugs.
Hey, I appreciate it. Number one, I'm wearing the shirt, so we have to talk about adaptable physical therapy. This is my wife and I's attempt to help those in need with whatever your PT needs are. We actually have expanded in the last month or so, and we have some OT capabilities now as well, some occupational therapy. So if you're in the Northeast Oklahoma, Northwest Arkansas, Southwest Missouri, Southeast Kansas, I think that's all the places. That's the 4 corners I'm around. Look up adaptable physical therapy. Dr. Samantha Chamberlain can help you with all the things that ail you. What else do I do? Podcast. The Football Coaching Podcast with Joe Daniel is my primary place you'll find me. We are out every Thursday. The Coaching 101 podcast with Kenny Simpson That is where you'll find me. We drop off every Sunday. We actually missed one this week. So if you're looking and you're like, hey, you missed a week, I know, because I was on vacation. He's doing fireworks. It's been a whole thing, brother. We're out there.
Slackers.
Yeah. Voices of the Heartland is a place I'm talking to just really good people that help America be great. If you're looking to, if there's somebody you really like and you want to pitch your my way, throw me an email, chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com will get you any of those podcasts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, good stuff. So Daniel's out there, I'm out there, Vets to Refs, they're out there. So let's spread the good word about all these good things we got going on here, or hopefully good things going on here. So hit us up, please. So Daniel, Rule 9. We got one more rule after this. We got Rule 10 after this, and then we've basically covered our whole NFHS rule book here for this upcoming season. So timing out well. I just worked my first 7-on-7 high school 7-on-7 tournament this past weekend. So got to get a couple of those things in there. A lot of defensive holding penalties. Didn't have any DPI, but we had some holding penalties on the defense. But it's still the preseason, so it's to be expected.
Was that well received by the coaching counterparts that were there, or were they like, hey, this is 7-on-7, quit being a rule Nazi? How'd that go?
No, so what they did is I'm friends with the coach that runs this one. So somebody I actually used to coach with, and so he had a coaches meeting beforehand. There's 8 schools in total, so he had all the head coaches there, and I went over. I'm kind of representing the officials crew I put together and got the officials for this 7-on-7. And I basically asked him, like, he gave me a list of penalties and things to look for. But I just wanted to clarify things. So the big question I had is, are you jamming at the line of scrimmage? Because a lot of 7-on-7s, it's completely non-contact. And they're like, no, we want to jam at the line of scrimmage, but they got to let go. So we cleared up. All right, you're not going to jack up a receiver crossing the middle or anything like that. And once you get off the initial jam, don't grab the jerseys, because we'll hit you for the holding penalties. And I had like 2 or 3 holding penalties, and they were all the second penalties of the game, where I went up and told the linebacker on the one play, he was mugging the guy. I'm like, kid, you got to let him go. I'm going to call holding, coach. He's got to release him. And he talked to him. And then literally the next play, the whole jersey was pulled off the receiver trying to cross over the middle and stuff like that. I'm like, I got to call that one. So
they
were all pretty good about it.
Awesome.
All right, so Daniel, number 1 here, we have the Tush push. What do you got? Helping the runner.
Helping the runner 9-1. An offensive player shall not push, pull, or lift the runner to assist his forward progress. Must be absolutely blatant. Pulling runner forward, lifting and carrying. Pushing the pile is fine. This was a point of emphasis in 2023 penalty. Helping the runner, signal 44, it'd be 5 yards. This is obviously really big right now with all groups, because the NFL just said we're going to leave that in. And I honestly, at this level, even with it having a rule against it and a penalty, I still feel like if I put 2 fullbacks and they push the guards who are in front of the quarterback, who are pushing the center, like, you can create a void of momentum, if you will. I think that's a good way to put that. Yeah, my shoulder might be on the quarterback, but we're pushing a pile, which you said right here, pushing the pile is fine. So
100%. So we're looking for that forward momentum. Basically and this is actually going to be the referee's call, because they're going to be right behind. They get the best view of it. But if you have a fullback that's dotting the I, that is literally right behind the quarterback and lined up maybe a yard, or he's smelling the butt crack of the quarterback, well, then that kind of like raises our antennas. What we're more so seeing more and more is the pulling of the runner forward. So we had in one of my games that I was a referee for this past year, a pile up happened, and all of a sudden you saw the one lineman that was kind of out of the play come into the pile and grab the running back and start backpedaling to get him out of the pile. So stuff like that is what we're looking for. The Tush push one, again, it's got to be completely blatant. It is for the safety of the kids, and I know that Jason Kelsey can attest to it. He said that he hated it because it was just pure pressure on his neck. So who knows? He might be 2 to 3 inches shorter now because of that one play. But
Right.
It is a safety type of scenario. So, but it is a 5-yard penalty. And again, we're looking for it to be blatant. And it was a point of emphasis because the NFL made it a point of emphasis. It also helps to have a quarterback that can, Jalen Hurts can clean like 500 pounds or something like that.
He's pretty strong.
Yeah, it that definitely helps to have that type of cat back there. All right, so talking about legal blocking techniques. This goes back to 2-3. Closed or cupped hands. Hands must be closed or cupped with the palm not facing the opponents. Forearms extended no more than 45 degrees. I don't know that I've ever seen or heard something like that being called. Well, his arms are at 90 degrees. No, it's if they're past 90 degrees, that's gross. We don't want to see that. Open hands shall be in advance of the elbow, inside the framework of the body, or below the shoulders, inside the frame of the opponent's body, at or below the shoulders, unless the opponent turns, and palms must be open when facing the opponent. Now, again, the palms one, I don't really look for that much, but the framework one is the one that we're going to look for when we're talking about our holding techniques and things like that. And it also says then can't swing, throw, or flip the elbow or forearm to strike the opponent. The old school flipper.
So that is a penalty now to use your big surface on a big surface.
I don't know anybody that will ever throw that one because I know even at the youth level, when I'm teaching a double team, I'm teaching one person to get a forearm on the hip while the other guy's engaged to basically your hip and lever type of scenario going when we're double teaming for power and stuff like that. Everybody calls it something a little bit different, but basically we're looking for the punches in essence. But technically you cannot throw or swing, especially the elbow. But again, I mean, I grew up being taught to down block like this in the old Delaware wing tee, elbows up and making that wide surface there. So
I'm a big hands person. Excuse me, yawn there. But obviously I work with Joe Daniel, who teaches no hands to his offensive linemen. So it's all big surface. You're going to down block kind of like what you just showed, right? Like,
yep.
You're going to take on double teams with forearms and so it's pretty neat to see. I guess it's not neat. It stinks to see it's against the rules that we're teaching it that way.
Well, again, it's that throw. So if you think about it, I'm an old boxing fan back in the day. Mike Tyson, how many elbows and forearms did he throw where he looked like he was throwing the hook, but it was coming across with that elbow? That's what we're trying to really keep out of the play, is making that type of move, especially when we're talking about the head and neck area of the opponent. So continuing with our legal blocking techniques, a defensive player may also use unlocked hands, hand or arm to ward off an opponent, and any player during a loose ball may push, pull, or ward off an opponent in the actual attempt to get the loose ball, and provide such contact is not pass interference, a personal foul, or illegal use of the hands. So this one's a fun one because when we got a fumble, it's basically all hell breaks loose. So there's blocks in the back. There's people pushing, people pulling. It's a loose ball, so it's going at it, and then all of a sudden you get a pile and a scrum, and you don't know. We're not going to talk about what goes on the bottom of the scrum because we're not talking about legal and illegal here in football world. We're talking about legal and illegal in the real world. So
right,
it's no hold barred down there. All right, so you want to take the next slide here: legal use of the hands and holding.
Of course. An offensive player, except the runner, shall not use a blocking technique not permissible by Rule 232 or 233. Penalty is an illegal use of the hands or arms. Signal 42, it's 10 yards. May not grasp or encircle a teammate to form interlocked blocking. Penalty is interlocked block. I've never heard that one. Interlocked blocking, signal 44, 10 yards. Use hand, arms, or legs to hook, lock, clamp, grasp, or encircle an opponent or hold an opponent. Penalty is holding. Of course, signal 42, 10 yards. And the runner may not grasp a teammate. Penalty is illegal use of hands or arms. Signal 42, 10 yards. There's, when I'm reading through this and using illegal use hands and holding, I was thinking like you get a pancake and your offensive lineman lies upon the top of the defensive player while he's smashed on the ground, and his hands are out, and he makes the big Patrick Starfish. Some guys will throw the flag, and some won't. Like, I'm not using any part of my body to hold him there except for my entire body. I love that block. I don't know if it's legal or not. I guess I'd have to.
I'm talking my way through that 99% of the time, but if it's egregious, it can be a holding penalty because technically you are holding that player down to the ground just by using your entire arm. So I think I've thrown that one time, and well, that kid had probably had 3 other 15-yard penalties on him. So he liked to play on the edge, so he earned everything that he had coming to him. I want to go back up to the second bullet point, though, the grasp or encircling a teammate to form an interlocking block. I want you to think back to the old special teams days with your kick return. Yeah. That's most common where you saw it, whereas those guys that were setting up that wall, they would run back to a spot and they would grab hands, even if it initially would grab hands just to set the wall and then they would release it. Well, some schools used to interlock arms to keep that wall so you couldn't have the person coming through. So that's where you used to see. You don't see it too often now.
Wedge middle kickoff return, right? Like,
yep.
And then you have to have now you got to have a wedge, somebody going and blow that up. So
I volunteered to do that once. Well, you're right, but it was because I was an offensive lineman and I don't think I ever got to the actual wedge. So speed was not my forte. All right, so if you want to continue with this, the defensive player.
Defensive player shall not use a technique not permissible by Rule 232 or 235. Use his hands to add momentum to the charge of a teammate on the line of scrimmage, so you basically can't push him across. Contact an eligible receiver who is no longer a potential blocker. Penalty, there'd be illegal use of hands for those. Signal 42, 10 yards. Use his hands or arms to hook, lock, clamp, grasp, encircle, or hold an opponent other than the runner. Penalty is a defensive holding, signal 42, 10 yards. So this is a really good one. Like, that contact an eligible receiver is no longer a potential blocker. That's always so tricky, especially when you live in the RPO world now where people are running, let's just say they're running power. That X receiver is supposed to come over and block a safety, right? Because nobody blocks corners. If you do, you're wasting a man. But then all of a sudden they're an RPO team. And now they're running power, and he looks like he's going to block the safety, but he's actually there to catch a ball. And it's like, at what point is this guy a blocker? What point is he a receiver? The world has gotten very vague on when these players are deemed what. And so you kind of have to err on the side of caution as a coach or as a player. Hey, guys, you just can't put hands on them. So, kind of, Mike, that's rough for us being coaches to go back and coach that, like physical defense. No easy yards, no easy releases. If you're going to come block me, I'm going to rock you, and then all of a sudden it's a pass interference because it was an RPO.
So what you got to think of here is, and the key word here is no longer becomes a potential blocker. So in the RPO world, the potential is still there because quarterback's making a read. So it's happening downfield. They potentially can be a blocker. What this does, though, signify, and again, going to that old school train of thought, as a middle linebacker, you had a tight end dragging across the middle. What were you taught to do?
Rock his world.
Yep. Well, if that tight end that's dragging across the middle is not a potential blocker, now you got a legal use of the hands. So that's where it can come into play. And we talk about in high school that defensive pass interference doesn't happen until the ball is in the air, but this is now legal use of the hand. So it smashing that person when they are no longer a potential blocker. Now you got a legal use of the hands. And again, go ahead.
Yep. I want to talk about, kind of when I was coming up, it was basically everyone is tackleable, right? If you're on defense, you can tackle the center, you can tackle the tight end. It doesn't matter, right? If you think he has the ball, tackle him. And now it's gotten to the point where what I'm reading is a rule that says if I hold an opponent by tackling him and he's not the ball carrier, nor is he a potential blocker, now it's a penalty on me. But we still have triple option football out there.
So in the triple option, when you talk about triple and you're talking about those 3 people, your quarterbacks definitely should get tackled. Your fullback definitely should get tackled. And the pitchman, if they're behind the line of scrimmage, you can blow them up before they get the ball. So as long as they're behind the line of scrimmage, they are eligible to get popped in that scenario. So if you're doing a good job on the defense against that triple option veer or whatever it may be, you should be tackling all three of those guys, regardless of if they have the ball or not. And
For sure.
again, 99% of the time, it's going to be behind the line of scrimmage. What has been happening more and more, though, is your defensive lineman grasping and holding your offensive lineman and doing that whole complete pull of the offensive lineman's shoulder to create that blitzing gap. So that's where we're going to have more of our holding penalties and those types of scenarios. And we've talked about your cut blocks and stuff like that. Well, when you cut block as a defensive lineman, there are defensive line that like to cut so that their offensive linemen can't get to the second level, can't get up to the linebackers. Well, if they are not very good at cutting and all of a sudden they're grabbing, well, now they're tackling an offensive lineman. That can be called as a defensive holding penalty.
Awesome.
All right. So illegal blocking 931 is blocking by a player either on offense or defense is illegal when it is kick catching interference, which we've talked about, forward pass interference 7-5-10, and a personal foul. So we're going to dive into this one a little bit more. So illegal blocking on our kick plays. A receiver who has given a fair catch signal shall not block until the kick ends, and a kick is a kick is a kick. So until possession is gained, and that's a 15-yard penalty. So you sometimes still see that even in the NFL level, well, they'll give a fair catch and then they go and blow somebody up because, well, when the kick team sees a fair catch, they're now focusing up on the sky to try to find the ball to make sure that, A, it's not just a fake fair catch, and especially when it's down by the goal line to keep the ball out of the end zone for the touchback. Julian Edelman, I remember like his first or second year in the league, just absolutely lambasted somebody on a punt return, but he didn't give the fair catch signal. So what he did was 100% legal at the time. So, but if you give that fair catch, just like you're afforded the protection, well, the defense in essence is afforded some protection back. So, so that one will be a 15-yard penalty. The next one is now kick or place kick holder on a free kick shall not be blocked until it's advanced 5 yards behind the free kick line or the kick has been touched, grounded, or touched or grounded by any player. Sorry, I mixed that up. So this is blocking the kicker or holder. You also have blocking the center in there too, and the long snapper. So we're going to go over that. But if you go for a block kick and you miss the kick and you go into the holder, well, that's a 15-yard penalty. That's a roughing type of penalty. Or the kickoff too. So when the kicker kicks the ball, you kind of got to afford them to get downfield because even at the high school level now, we're seeing strictly kickers. So people that are wearing that soccer style cleat instead of football cleats, and they're just out there to kick the ball. No member of K on a free kick shall initiate contact to an opponent until the kick traveled 10 yards or K is eligible to recover the kick or R initiates the block in the neutral zone. So this goes back to your onside kick. Back in my day, again, we used to put out 3 fullback, middle linebacker types, and we would kick the onside kick to that side. And their job was to go manhunt and just find somebody and lay them out. So then the skill positions could come up behind them to recover the onside kick. So they were legitimate headhunters at that point in time. Sure. So trying to get that out of the game because, again, as a receiving team, my focus is completely on the ball. That ball takes the bounce. I'm looking up, and all of a sudden I get lambasted. Well, they're looking to try to get that out.
Expose their chin. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. All right, blocking below the waist here. Daniel, go for it.
Blocking below the waist, Rule 932 and 217.2. Blocking below the waist is permitted in the free blocking zone, provided all players involved are on the line of scrimmage and in the free blocking zone at snap. Contact is in the free blocking zone, and block is immediate initial action at the snap. So this comes in those cut blocks we were talking about earlier.
Correct.
Things below the waist. A player shall not block below the waist except in the free blocking zone when block meets requirements above. To tackle a runner or player pretending to be a runner, which covers us back to our triple options. That's good that that's there.
Correct.
Penalties blocking below the waist. Signal 40, 15 yards.
So this one, talking at the high school level and talking NFHS rules, because this is different in Texas and this is different in the NCAA level, where your running backs are allowed to cut your linebackers and different things like that. For the NFH level, it has to be basically tight end to tight end if the splits are normal, was what we're going to reference as our free blocking zone.
Right.
And right at the line of scrimmage. And the block has to be immediate. Now, there is a caveat to this for the defenses that are out there. You got a team that runs a lot of power and counter, and they're pulling people. And now that defensive end comes in, and instead of wrong arming the lineman, they submarine them to cut them to create a pile and hopefully have their friends come and make the tackle. That is still blocking below the waist, and that is a 15-yard penalty on the defense. Still the same signal, and the coaches are going to flip out. What do you mean it's a block? He's not blocking. Well, that's what it is. It's blocking below the waist. So as a defensive player, tackling the runner or somebody who's potentially the runner, as in your triple option, okay. Cutting an offensive lineman when it's not immediate, even though in that scenario I just gave you, it was in the free blocking zone, but it wasn't immediate at the snap. So that would be where you're going to get your penalty. All right, blocking in the back. Blocking in the back is permitted in the free blocking zone, provided that it's done by an offensive lineman who are on the line of scrimmage and in the free blocking zone at the snap, and it's done against a defensive player who are also in the free blocking zone at the snap, and the contact is in the free blocking zone. So when we're talking about this, you're blocking the back, you could have it on a linebacker. An offensive lineman could get it because your free blocking zone does basically expand out. Rule of thumb that my group likes to talk about is going to be to the defensive lineman's heels and their stance and things like that. So if I got a down block and it gets in the back, we're going to be good with it. A player shall not block an opponent in the back except in the free blocking zone when the block meets the requirements, using hands or arms to contact the opponent and warding off a blocker or reaching for a runner. When attempting to catch or recover a loose ball, which he may legally touch or possess, or to tackle a runner or player pretending to be the runner. So again, we're okay with if you shove that fullback on the triple option in the back, which I don't really recommend as a good tackling technique, but it's going to be okay in that scenario. So, but blocking in the back is going to be signal S43, and it is going to be a 10-yard penalty. A lot of times you're going to see this. Your sweep plays, you're going to see guys coming down, or on your special teams plays, you're going to see the block in the back. So those are your most typical areas.
Right, because sometimes we get stunted. A stunt will run a defensive end away from a down block. I'm still catching you, man.
Yep.
And we're gonna pick. It's gonna be a block of the back. I'm gonna push you through the whole form. You know what I mean? Like, it's just what it is.
All right. So these ones suck here. This falls on me a lot.
Chop block and clipping. Clipping's not one I've heard in a long time. I wonder if we're signaling it wrong. A chop block, a combination block by two or more teammates. I believe we covered this one a few episodes ago.
Yes.
One block is below the waist and one is above the waist in any order with or without delay. Clipping, block where initial contact is below the waist and from behind. A player shall not chop block or clip. Chop block, signal 41, 15 yards. Clipping is signal 39 is 15 yards. So this gets back to that, like, you're allowed to cut, but if you end up cutting the back of his legs, is that now clipping?
Yes. So if the person
hit the front of his legs,
correct. So clipping's kind of gone away more so. What we were seeing, and this was one especially at the collegiate level, wingbacks clipping the defensive ends, basically down blocking onto a defensive end who's in that 9 technique, kind of tilted in Javon Kerr style, and their focus is completely on the ball, and all of a sudden somebody from outside in is taking the back of their legs out. So we've kind of seen that go away. It's not very often that it happens. And then our chop block, that one is my call as an umpire. That's one that I am really, really focusing on. I do teach cut blocking at the youth level. I'm not a big fan of it at the youth level, but we do talk about it. And there's sometimes where, because with AYF, there's no weight restrictions. So sometimes we got 12-year-old kids that are 260 pounds going against my 130-pound guard. So sometimes we got to take their legs out, chop down that tree every once in a while. But we are going to communicate it, because if I'm going for a cut block and my neighbor thinks that they're just going to be the helper and they just give like a little punch just to try to help me out, that's technically a chop block. So we're gonna hit that one for 15 yards because that's a high low. All right. Well, this one should be pretty easy. So illegal personal contact fighting 9-4. No player or non-player shall fight. Funny story with that one. I'll come back to it. No player or non-player shall intentionally contact a game official. No player or non-player shall strike an opponent with fists, locked hands, forearms, elbows, nor kick or knee them. No substitute shall enter the field during the fight. This is a 15-yard penalty. And the old heave-ho. Intentionally contacting an official, also 15 yards and your disqualification. I joke around about the non-player one. One of the last games that I refereed as a youth official, I had to throw out two coaches who were on the same team who were fighting with each other at, I want to say it was 8U football, where you were allowed to have two coaches on the field in the offensive backfield and two in the defensive backfield. And the two coaches from the same team started throwing punches at each other because they didn't like that their son didn't get the ball. I don't even know what the heck it was. So I had to throw a 15-yard penalty on that and kick out the two coaches from the team. And the assistant coach was like, what do we do? I'm like, well, somebody's now the head coach. So you just got nominated.
Congratulations.
Yep. So that was kind of the beginning of the end for me as a youth official. But now I'm just the coach for the youth game. So now I get to heckle them.
There we go.
All right. Other personal fouls, illegal personal conduct, swinging of a foot, shin, or knee into an opponent, extending leg to meet the blocker, your old leg whip, charging into or throwing an opponent onto the ground after the ball is out of play or the ball is dead, piling on a player lying on the ground, positioning on shoulders or body of a teammate's or an opponent to gain an advantage, throwing a helmet to trip an opponent. It's in there. And initiating contact with an opponent whose helmet has already completely come off. That is a 15-yard penalty if you're initiating that contact. And you also could get an illegal participation player by that player who is still playing with their helmet off. So right. it could be.
They had to be participating for me to hit them. So
correct.
Is that on the offense primarily? How does that?
Yeah, we're typically going to do that on the offense. But now if I see that your helmet's off and I come in to try to blow your ass up because I'm going to get a free shot, well, it could be a personal foul on me then too. So
good.
All right. Daniel, defenseless player.
Yeah, that's a good one. A player who, because of his physical position and focus of concentration, is especially vulnerable to injury. It's football. You have a helmet on. But I digress. When in question, a player is defenseless. Receiver attempting to catch a pass who has not had time to become a runner. Runner already in the grasp of a tackler. Kick or punt returner while attempting to catch or recover a kick. Player on the ground or runner who has given himself up. Player obviously out of the play. Player who receives a blindside block with forceful contact not initiated with open hands. A receiver, including the person intercepting the pass, who is forcefully contacted by an opponent that is not incidental contact, initiated with open hands, or an attempt to tackle by wrapping arms around the receiver. Is this the one that is going to eliminate the old peel back blocks? Because used to, if you got a long run or something breaking open, and man, it just always seemed like that receiver was in a key place to really just run against the flow of traffic and just pick a dude off. We used to call them peel back blocks, or I think here it may have called it a blindside block.
That's your answer. So we are going to get to the blindside block, but this is more more so, not strictly as you read players outside the play. This is going to be more so on a receiver, not giving him an opportunity to become the runner. And this is the one that has caused a lot of issues. This is in the college game, it has caused a lot of controversy because this is where college calls it the targeting rules and stuff like that, where if it happens, players have been getting ejected at the college level for the half or possibly for the game. So it's when it's a defensive player and you're not making a tackling type of motion. So there's a lot of different caveats that are going to fall into it, and we'll talk about that as we move on. But if you go up to make a catch and I come in and I just blow you up before you get down to the ground, I could be penalized for hitting a defenseless player, which sucks. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a tough one for me as a longtime player and coach to think about that play, because I was always taught to dislodge the receiver from the ball. And
Right.
so we have to basically make it into a tackling motion, not just a blow up type of play, in order to not have the defenseless receiver. One that, I mean, we battled with my crew. A receiver basically made the catch along the sidelines, and as they were coming down, the defensive back kind of undercut him, but it wasn't malicious or anything like that. But by the letter of the law, the receiver hadn't fully come down to the ground. He wasn't a runner at that point in time. That should have been called, and we didn't call it. And I think we erred on the side of caution of not calling it, because it was like a bang bang type play. But going back and watching it on film and in huddle and stuff like that, we're like, oh, okay, we see both sides of it. So that's where that gray area does come in.
So it is a gray area, because if I'm a DB, let's just say it's man coverage, he runs a comeback. I've overran it because I thought it was vertical. I put a foot in the ground and I head back to him.
Mm-hmm.
And as his hands reach up for the ball, I make a tackle. If I sit and wait on him, well, we just saw we watched it 3 years ago in Minneapolis when the Vikings, if you'll remember,
Stephon Diggs,
the Minnesota Miracle is what
Yep.
they're calling it now, right? Yes, Stephon Diggs catches that ball and the defender ducks away to not get a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Stephon Diggs runs it in the end zone and they win the game. He had no option. He had no choice. If he hits him, it's a penalty. Of course, then you make the offense line up and run it again. But if he doesn't get a penalty there, it's a touchdown. I don't like that version of the rule. But also, we've watched Antonio Brown become the world's weirdest human because of
For so many reasons.
Perfect, is that his name? I'm
Yeah.
probably screwing that up. You guys will remember. But we all remember the hit that he laid on Antonio Brown, and he's not been the same since. So it's like there has to be a line, but man, where is that line?
You're right. And going back just for the history buffs out there, I just saw something on Juju Smith-Schuster, who got Vontaze Burfict back the next year on a crackback block and stood over him. And yeah, Vontaze Burfict. Yeah, it was interesting. And yeah, Antonio Brown has not been the same human being since those hits. All right, so our face mask penalty, moving along. Our face mask penalty in the NFHS, we still do delineate between it being a personal foul or of the 5-yard variety, where other levels have eliminated that. We are looking for that grasp and turn, twist, pull, different things like that for the 15-yard variety. Incidental, with no turn or twist, we're going to go with a 5-yard penalty. I'm not going to lie, with my crew, we've kind of gotten away from the 5-yard variety, and we're just kind of looking for that 15-yard variety, the 5-yard one, because 99% of the times, all face masks are incidental. It's just the kid kind of gets caught up, and then they think that they've got something, and they're just ripping it. Now, yeah, there are the malicious ones out there, but I shouldn't say 99%, but a lot of times it is not malicious. But if they
Right.
grab and pull, then we're going to hit them for the 15-yarder. What other people don't understand too and realize is grasping an opponent's face mask or any helmet opening, chin strap, mouth guard, that is a face mask penalty. So if I were to tackle you by your ear hole, that is a face mask penalty. If I were to tackle you by the back of your helmet and put my hands in the back of your helmet, technically, that's going to be a face mask penalty because all those are dangerous plays. And again, this is where, as a crew, we've kind of erred away from that 5-yard variety because if I put my hand and I go to tackle them, my hand pops into their ear hole incidentally, I'm kind of okay with it. But I have also seen times where that's the result. And the face mask and helmet completely turned to the side. So that's the one that we're really looking to get.
I love the demonstration there, Mike. It was great.
Thank you. For those that aren't watching, I took my headsets on and put it sideways. I was like Jiffy Jeff. All right.
Hurdling. Oh, Mike, can I just tell you that this is the dumbest one in the rule book? An attempt by a player to jump with one or both feet or knees foremost over an opponent who is contacting the ground with no part of his body except one or both feet. Feet or knees foremost is the important part here. So diving over an opponent headfirst is still legal. If you can do a front flip, do a front flip. You'll gain extra yards. Opponent has hand, knee, or anything on the ground. This is not hurdling and it is legal. Penalty is hurdling, signal 38, 15 yards. I understand the intent. And I've seen this called incorrectly. Thinking back now that I'm reading this right here on air, opponent has anything else on the ground. When the defensive end is crashing around the corner and stumbles and his knee's on the ground and my running back jumps him,
you're good.
Should not be hurdling. And I've seen that called. Really, we're just trying to get rid of the old Gronkowski or whoever else you've seen hurdle a human. Who did it? Saquon did it this year, right? He had the backwards hurdle.
God, that
which
was
would
sick.
be legal, right? Because he led with his back.
Yeah,
His
you want
knees
to know
and
something?
feet
I'm giving it
were
to
not-
him anyway because
it's amazing. Knees and feet were not foremost. Anyway, yeah. So don't go jumping people.
I mean, ironically enough, you brought up Antonio Brown last one, but this is Antonio Brown trying to quote unquote hurdle the punter.
He absolutely was not.
No, that was all malicious intent involved there. But here in New Jersey, we got Brian Leonard that we can thank for this. Brian Leonard playing at Rutgers was one of the first people that I saw do it on a regular basis, coming around the side, especially on the sweeps and stuff like that, and just literally jumping over a cornerback and landing it effortlessly and in full stride and continuing down the sideline. The reason for this, again, we talk about safety. This is not just necessarily a safety factor for the punter who got cleated right in the chest plate by Antonio Brown, but it's also for the runner itself because if I'm getting hurdled and I catch it in time, I'm going to be flipping you head over heels where you're now possibly landing on your head and your neck. And so that's where it is a safety for both sides. So, but again, if you're down on
there
ground,
with your head and neck and running into the defense.
Yeah. Tush push. So we got illegal helmet contact now. So illegal helmet contact is 9-4, initiating contact with your helmet, butt blocking, face tackling, using the front of your head, the front of your helmet. I don't know that one very often.
So you've never thrown a butt blocking penalty?
No, but again, being in New Jersey, Mark Sanchez with the butt fumble we have. So
I'm just glad you're claiming the Giants over there in New Jersey land. We all know.
Well, I'm a Giant fan. Sanchez is a Jet, but he's tattooed on Rex Ryan's arm, so still has that for the eternity. Where we are looking for now is your spearing and your targeting. So your spearing is using the crown of your helmet at or below the shoulders. This can be offensively and defensively, and this one, personally, I don't think gets called enough offensively. by the running back who comes through and drops their head down and just plows through because they are putting themselves in extreme danger. The targeting is taking aim and initiating contact above the shoulders. This one is very touchy too, because again, you talk about what we see on Saturdays and Sundays on TV, the guys coming in and somebody sliding, and now all of a sudden you got contact above the shoulders. But the kids are being trained when you see that slide, and Kenny Pickett kind of took advantage of it a couple of years ago, and they took that one out. When they're going into that defenseless position, you got to lay off them because only something like this can happen.
That's a great rule. I still think it's, that first year it wasn't even reviewable. Like now they have to review every target, which is great. I think it's weird that there's the penalty versus the ejection versus there's so much weirdness to it still.
Yeah.
I look forward to him cleaning it up, but it's got to be in there. You can't just go smoking dudes in the side of the head and on purpose.
I mean,
I have seen some very weird ones where they like hit the shoulder pad first, and then their head gets deflected into their helmet, and they're like, "Oh, targeting!" Like, no, it's not. Anyway,
yeah, and that's where I do have the problems with it too, because a lot of times the intent again is going for the shoulder, and at the high school level we don't have replay. Yeah, so it's one where this again for the youth and the high school level, we are going to take precaution, but what people have to understand and what coaches have to understand is not because it's a big hit doesn't necessarily mean that they're targeted. Because somebody gets hit high and tackled, if that ball carrier is running and I come and I blow them up without a tackling type of motion and I hit them high with my shoulder in their shoulders, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not targeting. Now, if that kid gets flown back and their head now hits the ground and now you got the coaches screaming, well, that's unfortunately part of the game when the concussions are coming like that. But just because it's a big hit doesn't always mean that it's going to be a targeting penalty. So, sure. and the parents, it's not. All right, so horse collar one. Here's a good one. 943, and this one was modified a couple of years ago too. So grabbing the inside, back, or side collar or the nameplate area of either the shoulder pads or the jersey of the runner, so this is pulling that opponent to the ground backwards or sideways is a horse collar penalty. So all of those things need to be brought into play. So if you were to grab the horse collar area and pull the runner down, but the runner kept his balance and continued on down the sidelines, we got nothing. It's got to be brought to the ground, and it's got to be backwards or sideways. If I grab you by the back of your nameplate and I throw you forward onto the ground, again, not a great tackling technique because I'm throwing you forward for another 2-3 yard gain, but that's not a horse collar tackle. It's got to be backwards or sideways. If it's going forward, we got nothing.
One of my highlights in high school many moons ago, I don't even talk about my high school days because there's like 4 highlights and they never fit what we're talking about. But I ran a dude down for like 60 yards down the sideline, and then right here, I grabbed him by the horse collar, but I had to like jump on his back and trip him essentially. So there was no horse collar. Now that was in 2005, so it probably wasn't even a horse collar penalty.
I don't even think there was a horse collar penalty at the time. Yeah, because I mean,
should have pulled him over backwards and broken his leg. Damn it! See, now I'm missing out.
See, and that's why we have the rule in place for people like you.
People like you that didn't do it.
All right, so you were asking about this one, Daniel. Blindside block 943N. Go for it.
A block against an opponent other than the runner who does not see the blocker approaching. Executing a blindside block outside of the free blocking zone with forceful contact is a foul unless initiated with open hands. So I can kill whoever I want as long as my hands were open before I got there.
Yeah.
Penalty, illegal blindside block, signal 38 and signal 36, 15 yards.
Personal foul. So we're going to give a personal foul and then a blindside block signal. So it's going to be 2.
Tell them both.
Yep.
Good one to know. Just you have to train your kids up on don't lead with the shoulder when you're going to kill that kid. Just open your hand, put your hands up there.
And this one still comes into play when we got crackback blocks. So your outside receiver cracking back, like you were just talking about before, coming down on that safety because you're not blocking the cornerback. It's just a matter of how you do it. If that kid cannot get their head around and see you, then we're going to have a blindside block. So it's that peel back, that crackback block. So those are all the ones that are going to come into play. I could tell you my son got called for 2 of them this past year in youth football. One valid, one was because it was a big hit. Because we ran a lot of, and Coach Chip, we were out there, we ran the jet sweep, but we did it with a little pop pass aspect of it. But we would run it and get outside, and I would have my 2 outside receivers coming down and cracking down. And the first time my son did it as the crackback guy, well, he lit the kid up. 15-yard penalty, and we taught him not to, but he saw his opportunity, thought the kid was looking at him, blew him up, watched it on film, penalty. Next game, same thing. We got on him about it. Make sure it's open hands. Well, sure as heck, he comes down and he hits the kid with open hands. Now, my son is 5'9". The cornerback that he happened to hit was 5'1". So even with open hands, the kid got thrown, and the ref threw the flag and brought back a touchdown on us. And it was on the far sideline. So my son got a tongue lashing right there on the field and pulled. And then when we went back on film, we apologized because it was exactly what he was taught to do at that point in time. But you got to make sure that the guy can see you, basically.
I've never considered, like when my kids start playing youth ball, I'm a football coach, and I'm going to have opinions about what if I'm not the youth coach, I'm going to have opinions about how they're, I've never considered you as a ref who's now a football coach for youth level having opinions about how the refs are reffing. Like, nah, you turd, you missed that one. You know what I mean? I bet that's fun.
It depends on who they are.
Do you tell them? Like, number one, I'm the greatest ref in the United States. So,
and number one, that's a lie. But thank you.
It makes you great.
But
the rules.
So, luckily and unluckily for me is all of our youth games are officiated by people that are part of my association. So I know about 95% of them.
Sure.
I try not to promote it because the other coaches see it and don't want to think that I'm buying any fouls. I want the game called cleanly. I want it. And this one on my son, like I said, the only reason that he got pulled is because he did it illegally the week before, and we thought he didn't learn his lesson. So we're like, all right. And then afterwards, I'm like, hey, listen, they're human. They missed that call. But especially with the youth level where there's only 3 sets of eyes, I tend not to get on them too much because there's a lot of different things that you're going to miss. And for the safety of that 5'1" kid, that we're looking out for him. So just unfortunate that my son...
Definitely going in the weekly meeting. Here's the play you missed. You missed my son. Anyway, sorry about that.
No, it's all good. Unfortunately, my kid's got his name right on the back too, so they all see that. All right.
Tripping, 9-4. The intentional use of the lower leg or foot to obstruct an opponent's below the knee. No player shall trip an opponent, including the runners. I cannot tackle via tripping. Not even if I'm John Madden. I can't do it if I'm John Madden.
If you're John Madden.
Didn't John Madden trip a guy running down the sidelines and when he was the Raiders head coach?
Yeah, that's definitely illegal.
Oh, you have a video.
I have a video of one.
I was like, where did it go? He got rid of the rules. I was about to pull mine up, but here you are.
The one and only time I've ever called a tripping penalty, and I want you to give your honest opinion. So this big ugly guy here in the middle is me at the 48-yard line here on the umpire.
Hit the 47, maybe the 48. Getting ready to run backwards. A little bro action here. Hand it off to him.
So there is your violator. I circled there. And
ooh, that's a good power read look.
See that leg whip at the end?
Go back. I didn't see it. I was looking at I was offensively breaking down their play. All right.
Let me get rid of that because
before, right? He's our person.
He is our person of interest.
He's leading with his shoulder.
But what he does is because the play has the guard coming through and then the runner coming through, he overruns it, and see that leg action coming? He actually.
Oh, Mike.
So I'm just
Okay,
going to let it play through.
I don't. Yeah, I don't agree. And
Okay.
it's simply because his back takes out the quarterback's legs. He can't control
No.
his leg because
His
of the
back
force.
didn't take out the quarterback's legs. His back took out the guard's legs. He overran the play. His heel took out the running back's legs. That's how he made the
Let me
tackle.
watch it from the top, and I'll give you a full assessment.
Yep.
From the motion. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, I don't know, brother. As a coach, I'd be heated. I would probably send this in and be like, I need a better assessment. He kind of takes them both out. I get that his heel hit, but it wasn't intentional, like... But you can't see intent, I guess, on game night. So, because you're my friend, I support you.
No, that's fine.
I'd be furious if my guy tackled two people with his back and got called for tripping.
That's why I threw it up there, because I'm always up for interpretation. So, and I know it's tough with the stream aspect of it, so it may be choppy at times too. But when we watched this on the big screen, I actually got props for it. It's the one time that I've ever called it, because my referee was like, well, what do you mean he tripped the running back? That's good. I'm like, no, you cannot trip the running back anymore. That was added into the rules a couple of years ago, where you used to do anything went on a running back, but then they added in that you cannot trip. So basically he leg whipped the running back.
There you go.
All right, so roughing the passer, we've kind of talked about this one. So a passer, 232-4, the definition, a player who throws a legal forward pass continues to be a passer until the legal forward pass ends or moves to participate in the play. So the defense must make a definitive effort to avoid charging into the passer after the ball has clearly been thrown, and this is a 15-yard penalty. And again, you get the double signals here, so you're going to have a personal foul, roughing the passer, and this one is your automatic first down. So any illegal personal conduct foul, 943, against a passer who is also considered roughing the passer and carries the automatic first down penalty. So if you have a 15-yard face mask on the quarterback, we're going to call roughing the passer, not the face mask, because we're going to give the automatic. The tripping, the horse collar, the illegal helmet contact, etc. So we're going to continue with the passer aspect of it, because we want to, we got to baby them. I mean, protect them. Sorry, wrong term. I'm an offensive lineman. That was my job.
There we go.
Michael Orr. Just watched that Blindside a couple weeks ago. I just resaw it. Plus Sandra Bullock was beautiful.
And it takes what it takes. Roughing or running into the kicker holder, one of the other R's, which are automatic first downs. Thank you for teaching me that, Mike D. Definition: holder, 232-7, player who controls the ball on the ground or a kicking tee. Kicker, 232-8, player who legally punts, drop kicks, or place kicks. Becomes a kicker when knee, lower leg, or foot makes contact with the ball. Continues to be kicker until reasonable opportunity to protect himself and regain his balance. Very important definitions there, due to if I can hit him before he kicks the ball, then I'm just tackling a football player.
Absolutely. Blow him up.
Running into contact with displaces the kicker holder without roughing. Penalty: running into the kicker holder, signal 35 yards. Roughing is a block, tackle, or charge into the kicker. Penalty: roughing the kicker holder, signal 38 and 30, 15 yards, automatic first down.
Pretty straightforward with that one. A lot of coaches don't like that we'll try to err on the running into instead of the roughing the kicker aspect of it. Basically, one of the key things we are going to look for is giving, especially a punter, giving them the opportunity to come back down to the ground, because a lot of time when that kicking leg, if they're good at it, their momentum, they should actually almost be kind of jumping off the ground. If we're taking out that plant leg, we're probably going to go at roughing. If they just hit the kicking leg, it's going to be dependent upon how that contact was initiated. So,
and now everybody's selling everything. Everybody's LeBroning. You know what I mean? So,
well, my wife calls it a soccer flop.
Yeah, the LeBron flop. I got you. Same thing.
So
should play soccer.
So it's not going to be roughing or running into. It is not a foul for roughing or running into the kicker if the contact is unavoidable, if it is not reasonably certain that a kick will be made. Rugby punt. The defense touches the kick near the kicker and the contact is unavoidable. Contact is slight and partially caused by movement of the kicker. Again, rugby punt type of scenario. And contact is caused by R being blocked into the kicker or holder by K. So you're up back, and I keep referring to punts, but your punts that the guy gets blocked into somebody, into the kicker, we're not throwing the flag on that one. Roughing the snapper. Again, this one is going to be my call as an umpire because I am looking at this, and every single extra point, field goal, any type of kick scenario, I am repetitively saying stay off the snapper, holder, kicker. I find myself, I actually say it during punts, even though there is not a holder. It's just because that's what rolls off my mouth. But the snapper remains a snapper until he's had a reasonable opportunity to protect themselves and gain their balance, or moves to block and participate in the play. So the defensive player shall not charge directly into the snapper when the offensive team is in a scrimmage kick formation. We talked about scrimmage kick formations in a previous episode, so we got to make sure that we have that, so that will afford them the protection. Roughing the snapper is signal 38, personal foul, and so automatic first down, 15 yards. You got a defensive lineman who lines up in the A gap on an extra point, and they kind of try to hop through the legs of the snapper and the guard blocks him down into the snapper. I've got nothing. Unfortunately, snappers don't like that. I was a long snapper myself. They are not making the initial charge into the snapper. They were being blocked down into the snapper. A lot of times, this is a preventative officiating one. I'm going to tell their linebacker to move the kid off of the center's head in this scenario so that they don't even line up there. But now if they take a slant and they blow the snapper up, then we're going to call it. All right.
Illegal personal contact flagrant variety. Flagrant 216.2c. A foul so severe or extreme that it places an opponent in danger of serious injury and or involves violations that are extremely or persistently vulgar or abusive conduct. If any illegal personal conduct fouls are judged or determined by a game official to be flagrant, penalty will also include disqualification. Disqualifications in New Jersey also include suspension from the next contest, as they do in Oklahoma. So we are both, you get one, you get two.
And for us, we also have a disqualification rule in New Jersey that deals with playoff eligibility. If you have, I want to say it's 3 players ejected from a game, even if it's 3 different games, you can be ineligible for the playoffs. And we had a scenario like this happen a couple of years ago. And in New Jersey, again, I don't want to talk about for all the other states. If you have 3 freshman players and a freshman football game get into an absolute brawl and 3 freshmen get ejected from the game, they have now just disqualified their varsity team from the playoffs because it's as a program. So it's not even just an individual one, it's as a program. Very uncommon. An ejection from a freshman game is usually going to get a stern talking to the athletic director, but nothing that is going to be sent to the state. Right. But at the varsity level, it's definitely being reported to the state. So,
yeah, I could be misspeaking. So if you're an Oklahoma coach, you're listening, or a ref, I believe it was maybe 2 years ago, we went from contest to quarters.
Okay.
And so you could get 8 quarters instead of 2 contests. So if you get kicked out in the third quarter of a game, well, you just missed 2. Now you owe 6 quarters, so you could come back in the second half of not the subsequent game, but the one after.
Mm-hmm.
To try to eliminate like wasting. I mean, man, if you imagine getting kicked out in the fourth quarter and then you pay 1 quarter and then 4 of the next game, that kind of sucks, right? Because you only paid 5 versus a kid who gets kicked out on the first play of the game, he pays 8 total quarters. So I think they did 8 total quarters, if I'm not mistaken.
I like that rule. I like that they have it significant like that because especially late in the game, late in the season when playoffs aren't an issue for some teams, That's where it really gets that we have to be on our toes and making sure stuff like that happens. What New Jersey did put into play is that if it's the last game of the season and you're an underclassman, that suspension can carry over to the subsequent
For
year.
sure. For sure.
And also, they did add if I'm a football player and also a wrestler, wrestling is the following season in the wintertime. I could be potentially suspended from the beginning of the wrestling season. So
That's
there
how we
are
do it
different
here.
caveats.
Yeah, I think that's how we do it here, so you don't have to remember it until the next football season. I think if you're a multi-sport athlete, you lose that on your next competing season.
So this one goes into now our pre-game reading that we do to both teams. It is mandatory, again, from all levels, but no player shall act in an unsportsmanlike manner once the game officials assume authority for the contest. This includes, but it's not limited to, using profanity, insulting, or vulgar language or gestures. I could tell you that profanity is kind of thrown out the window. Because what we hear on the field is kind of what I hear in school too, unfortunately. But when it's gestures and stuff like that, or now we start getting into race, ethnicity, gender, different things like that, it's going to be an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Any delayed, excessive, or prolonged acts to focus attention on themselves, refusing to comply with the game official's request, or spiking the ball or otherwise not leaving it on the ground or handing it to an official can be a 15-yard. And in New Jersey, if you get 2 unsportsmanlike conduct fouls, it can result in an ejection. One thing I do want to mention, and again, New Jersey, we're a little bit different. We do delineate between what we call a disqualification and an ejection. So if you get 2 unsportsmanlikes, you're getting ejected for the remainder of that game. You are eligible to play the next game. If you are disqualified, which can be from 1 violation, not 2, then you're disqualified for the next game still. So with this one, again, I kind of blame Sundays for this. The NFL and the excessive celebrations and the sniffing of the finger pointing to the first down and things like that. That's drawing attention to themselves. Go to your sidelines, go cheer your teammates and stuff like that. Go get your crowd amped up on your sidelines. Do that on the sidelines. When you're doing it in the middle of the field, again, I'm going to give you the verbal warning. I'm not looking to try to bang anybody. I know it's an emotional game, but when now you're standing over somebody after making a big play, or you're doing that gesture while straddling or towards the opponent's sidelines, then I've got a little bit of an issue with it, because now you're looking to showboat and show the other team up. All right, so we talked about substitutions. This one goes back to 3-7, so a replace player and a substitute. So we're going to kind of go through this one quick. So an illegal substitution, we're going to have a 5-yard dead ball foul. So an illegal substitution is what we want as an official. We want to try to get the 12 men on the field before the ball is snapped, because if not, then we go to our next one, which is illegal participation. Let me come back, which is a 15-yard penalty. So I kind of scrolled quickly through that. So myself and the referee in our mechanics in New Jersey, we are in charge of counting the offense each time. So we count the offense, make sure that we have 11, and we'll signal to each other. It's usually just a closed fist to each other that, okay, he's got 11, I've got 11, we're good to go. Our deep wings are going to be in charge of counting the defense. If we can, before the snap happens, we're going to throw the flag, kill the play, or kill anything before the play even happens. And we're going to sit there, and if we're in doubt, you'll see us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it's 11, and I'll wave it off. You get that with the funky formations, teams that come out in quads and things like that when you're in empty, or where you split out a tackle to be in a wide receiver position, like those funky type of things there. You'll see that one and then have it waved off. But our short wings, they're looking for how many guys are in the backfield. If you got 5 guys in the backfield and then there's 7 guys on the line of scrimmage, well, that's equals 12. I'm not a math whiz, but I could figure that one out. But we're going to try to get that, because if you now play the down and you have that 12th person on there and we see it, now it's legal participation, and that's a 15-yard penalty.
There's a couple there that stand out to me because we coach high school kids who often don't know what they're supposed to be doing, and we're obviously very amped up. One said the kid can't go out and then come back to the sideline, and the other one said a kid can't come off and then go back out in the same dead ball period. 100% I've seen this happen where kids are like, hey, we're going to 12 personnel, and the wrong kid comes off, and you send his butt right back out there. Is that truly a penalty?
By the letter of the law?
Is there an amount of time that has to pass? Like, how does that work?
By the letter of the law, yes. Again, preventative officiating, you should get a talking to as a coach. And a lot of coaches will even get that kid before he even makes it to the sideline. So if they break the huddle and they're sprinting, and you'll see coaches, no, you're in. Technically, if they come off the field, they got to come off for a play. Again, that's not what we're really looking to try to harp on, because of the fact that we are dealing with 15, 16-year-old young men who are, their bodies are changing along with their minds changing. And so a lot of different things like that. So
yeah, because if two receivers go in at the same time, now you're at 12. One of them has to come off, but neither can legally because they have substituted in and can't substitute out on the same dead ball period. You're stuck with 12, right? Like,
yeah, and
so
we'll let the kid get back off.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So the participation now, as we talked about, is any act or action by a player or non-player that has influence on the play. This will go into the participation rule for Rule 9. So we added a big scenario here at the end of the season where extra point was blocked, or a field goal was blocked, I should say, and the team started celebrating, but they were on the near sideline. The ball was being returned on the far sideline. The officials threw an illegal participation penalty because there was like 40 people that came onto the field, even though the play was still in play. And our state came back and said, no, you should have called an illegal substitution, because those people that came onto the field didn't have any type of action in the outcome of the play. The play was happening. So that's the clarification that we got here in New Jersey for how they want us to attack it. That could be a different idea from state to state, but that's what we were told. So make sure that the player or non-player has an influence on the play. So there it is again, 15-yard variety for illegal participation, 9-6. Intentionally go out of bounds during a down and then return to the field. This is during a down, intentionally touch the ball, influence the play, or otherwise participate. So those are the big things that we're looking for. And again, we're trying to get this to the legal substitution. We're trying to kill this before it even happens. It is illegal participation when any team personnel enters the down and participates for a player whose helmet comes off during the down. We talked about this before. To continue to participate beyond the immediate action in which they are engaged in, that is illegal participation. So that's going to be a 15-yard penalty. Now, if you, Daniel, as the linebacker, come and blow me up because my helmet came off, I could have both. So
it's wild. Wild times.
All right. That's what we were just talking about. Participation versus substitution. All right, Daniel, illegal kicking.
Let's do it. Illegal kicking. An illegal kick, 224-9, is an intentional striking of the ball with the knee, lower leg, or foot that does not comply with 224-3 free kick or 224-4 scrimmage kick. Basically, any deviation from the kicking definitions 2-24 is an illegal kick. No player shall intentionally kick the ball other than free or scrimmage kick. Penalty, illegal kicking. Signal 31, 10 yards. Illegal kicks are treated as a fumble if the ball was live prior to the illegal kick.
So you get a ball snapped over your punter's head, and the punter goes back and tries to kick the ball out of the back of the end zone and get the safety. You're going to have an illegal kicking penalty. But if that kicker kicks the ball and it doesn't go out the back of the end zone and the defense jumps on top of it in the end zone, we have a touchdown. So it's treated as a fumble, and you can possibly have that penalty.
So if he does complete the kick, it does go out. Does he get the safety?
He gets the safety, and he's going to have to kick from further back.
That's fine with me. That's worth it, right?
At times.
Sometimes it's worth it.
Yeah. Illegal batting. So this goes back to our force and momentum, which we did talk about in last episode. No player shall bat a loose ball other than a pass or fumble in flight, a low scrimmage kick in flight, which he is attempting to block in or behind the neutral zone. The exception is a K player may bat towards his own goal line, a grounded scrimmage kick beyond the neutral zone, or scrimmage kick in flight if no R player is in position to catch the ball. So this is that fake fair catch. The ball bounces, and you have the kicking team with their heels at the goal line to try to keep the ball from going into the end zone. They bat it back towards their end zone. That is completely fine. Any pass in flight may be batted in any direction unless it is a backward pass batted forward by the passing team. So that's not okay. But if the ball is going out of bounds and you jump up and can smack the ball and save it from going out of bounds and bat it back inbounds to one of your teammates, well, that's a heck of an athletic play. Good for you, but that is okay.
I hate the Oklahoma State Cowboys, but they did do a really good job of that. It's probably like 10 years ago. A DB jumped out and from like 5 yards out of bounds, batted it back, and he jumped from inbounds, batted it back to another defender who intercepted it. Great play. Still hate them. Go Sooners.
And the ball in player possession cannot be batted forward by a teammate. So this is not rugby. We cannot punch the ball forward to advance the ball forward. So all those are illegal batting penalties.
Non-contact, unsportsmanlike conduct, non-players. No coach, substitute, trainer, or team attendant shall act in an unsportsmanlike manner once the game officials assume authority for the contest, including but not limited to using profanity, insulting or vulgar language or gestures, disrespecting a game official, or attempting to influence a decision. Now, Mike. We talk very sweetly to our poor little ref there on the sideline.
Bullshit. Excuse me.
Using alcohol or tobacco products. I can see smoking a cigarette, but I bet there's a lot of coaches out there who got a big old fat dip in. Penalty, unsportsmanlike conduct, signal 27, 15 yards. A second would be an ejection.
Yeah. So using profanity, insulting, or vulgar language or gestures. If you give me the middle finger, I'm going to probably have an issue with that. But if you say, Mike, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. What the fuck are you talking about? Excuse my language, ladies and gentlemen. It's an emotional game. I'm going to talk professionally back to you as the coach, but it's now when your vulgar language starts to get personal towards me, that's when I'm probably going to hit you with a non-contact, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. But using profanity, some people curse. It's every other word out of their mouth. They just don't. They don't even realize they're doing it. So you're one of those people.
Thank you, U.S. Army.
There you go. So
I've had to apologize to too many people because of my ability to say bad words.
George Carlin, baby. That's all I got to say.
There we go.
All right. So unsportsmanlike conduct by your head coach is using illegal communication equipment, which we talked about in Rule 1. So no type of O to O between coach and quarterback is legal. Failure to show for the coin toss or be ready to start either half can be an unsportsmanlike conduct on the coach, or allowing players to use illegal equipment after pregame certification. Disallow it, get it removed first. If it happens again, we're going to hit them with a flag. One of our pregame speeches that we ask every single head coach, Coach, are your players legally equipped? And every single time the answer is yes. So we've done our job. They've lied to us.
Let's go.
So, but this is where we're talking with the knee pads and things like that. But there's a lot of ways around that one. All right. This is our last ones that we're talking about.
Yeah, and sideline control. A non-player shall not be outside his team box unless to become a player or to return as a replaced player. A maximum of 3 coaches may be in the restricted area, must vacate when snap is imminent. No non-player or coach shall be in the restricted area when the ball is live.
And we got a little diagram here of your team box, your coach's area, and the restricted area. with COVID a couple of years ago, New Jersey and I think most states expanded. Basically, didn't have a restricted area. The coaches could go all the way down. I want to say here in New Jersey, we were like 10 yards to 10-yard line,
Yeah,
so
that's
we
what we
could
were.
space out. But now we're back to the normal of the 25-yard line. So between the 25-yard lines, and if you have a turf area, the turf fields have the nice big block sideline. That is our office. We refer to that as our workspace. That is our office. We don't come into your office and tell you what you're doing wrong. So during the play, please stay out of our office because that's where we need to be safe. 3 coaches are allowed into our office to call a play and different things like that. And some take some liberties of coming onto the field, some to the numbers, some I've
We
seen
would
almost
never.
all the way out to the hash marks. And you're like, Coach, what are you doing?
We would never.
Yeah.
Mackie.
So we got to make sure that we keep those areas safe. So coaches, keep your players back because the players start moving up. And when the players move up, the coaches move up. And when they move up, now our sidelines are hectic. And what we can get from that is, well, we got sideline warnings. Then we got 5-yard interference. And then we've got the 15-yard variety. And if I'm running down the sideline and even if it's unintentional, make contact between any non-player and an official or a player, if it's a player that's not in the play, that is a 15-yard penalty because my focus is on the play. I'm not looking. I'm assuming that my sideline is clear for me to go. I'm not scanning this way. I'm trying to watch the play, make sure we got everything legal going on here, getting a good spot, all that fun stuff. And all of a sudden I run into somebody. Well, I'm 6'3", I'm 220 pounds. I might run through somebody where other people may get thrown back. It's a safety thing for everybody. So please stay out of that restricted area. And again, that is an automatic 15-yard penalty if we run into somebody. And I think we saw that with Georgia, if I remember correctly, in the college playoffs.
I can't remember a call. I've had it on our teams multiple times.
Yeah.
It's been me. It's been other coaches. It's been you're in the game too, right? Our focus is not on the ref, so
Well, it should be.
It happens.
Damn it.
Unfair acts 9-9, and no player shall hide the ball. No player hide the ball under a jersey. No player shall use a kicking tee in violation of the rule. I don't even know how you would use a kicking tee in violation of the rule. This is 4th and 28, and we're going to go spread offense 5 verts and put a kicking tee out. I just don't know. Anyway, it is an unsportsmanlike conduct. It is 15 yards. Does not count against player or coach for ejection purposes. The next, a player, non-player, or person not subject to the rules shall not hinder play by an unfair act, which has no specific rule coverage. Essentially, stay out of the game if you're not in the game. No team shall repeatedly commit fouls which have the distance to the goal. Bill Belichick, he chooses to differ.
Yes.
Neither team shall commit an act which tends to make a travesty of the game. This is getting awful rulesy around here.
Yep.
Penalty, unfair act, signal 27, who knows how many yards. Referee enforces any penalty she feels is equitable, including the award of a score.
So I
Whoa.
want you to think to this past NFL season with the tush push and the linebacker trying to jump the pile repeatedly and getting called for offsides. And I want to say it was Hockley Jr. And he does a great job of explaining stuff. He says if it happens again, a score will be awarded because it was at that point making a travesty of the game. And everybody was up in arms saying, well, you can't give them a score. And here it is in the NFHS rule book, not only in the NCAA and the NFL rule book, but I'm pretty sure it was Hockley. I'm not exactly 100%, but they nailed it. They were 100% correct with it. So they can award that score.
Love it.
Well,
We've come to the end, my friend.
That is it. We are done with rule number 9.
Only one to go.
That's it. Saving the best for last, talking about penalty enforcement.
There's so much football knowledge to be gained on these episodes.
I hope so. I hope people are listening. And I've got one that I got to go back because last week I did correct myself, but I had somebody hit me up on one saying that I was possibly wrong on one. And I'm waiting. I waited to the end of the episode to talk about it. I want to double check it because I still think that I was correct in that one. But hey, I make mistakes. I am a human being. But it's making me a better official by doing this too. So hopefully people out there are getting better. Coaches, officials, newbies, vets, first responders. If you're interested in getting involved, hit us up. Vets to refs, baby. Whoop, whoop. So we got all those things going on. Daniel, once again, sir, thank you very much. And once again, have a happy 4th of July.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Mike.
All right, buddy. I will talk to you soon. And we are, there's the mousey.